welcome to episode 142 of Retro Encounter, the RPG fan podcast where we play oldish games and chat about them. Today we are finishing up our discussion and our playthrough of the original Mass Effect, one of the most beloved sci-fi RPGs, I think, for all of us and for a lot of you out there. And when I say we, I mean we have an intrepid, awesome panel of RPG and Mass Effect fans to talk about this game. I'm your host, Caitlin. You assume I give a damn, Argyros. I had to use that quote, for reasons that I will expand upon later.
Can't take with a straight face now.
Yep. We also have Liz. We are gonna need bigger guns, Maas.
Hello. Have you seen what we're fighting in Mass Effect?
We need, like Joker says in Mass Effect 3, we need guns that shoot thresher maws. So they must be gigantic.
Oh my god, yes.
Forgot about that. That'd be terrifying.
But awesome. And that, who just mentioned that was Greg. It's a big, stupid jellyfish, Delmage.
And they're not edible.
It'd probably be really tough if you ate a Hanar. Like, I'm kind of imagining
really
like an
chewy.
octopus squid texture.
And does the peeing rule still apply? Is that still a thing? If you would get touched by a Hanar?
You have to, yeah. You have to. Well, or do you have to pee on it before you eat it in order to? I don't know.
Welcome to a very different podcast this time around.
Yeah, let's move on from
Ship.
This is Mass Effect, not Chef Effect. Finally, we have Nathan. I can bludgeon pretty hard, Lee.
I was just thinking about that quote. It's like, what was the context of that quote again?
On Novaria, when you're talking to Parasini, and she's like, "You can't bludgeon your way through politics
yes,
or
that wasn't one. That's
corporate
right.
intrigue." And Shepard's like, "You have not met me, lady.
Exactly.
You don't know." All right, well, we're all here, and we've all finished our playthrough of Mass Effect, and we're going to talk about it. So I think the best place to start is, since we have finished the game, we've seen the entirety of the game for probably the third, fourth, fifth time for a lot of us. Mm-hmm. What are our thoughts now that we've finished this playthrough? How do we feel the story kind of came together in the end?
I found it was a nice, satisfying wrap-up to things, but also clearly ramping up for a greater trilogy at large. Like, there was definitely... You're left wanting more, which is also evidenced in the fact that I immediately turned around and went to New Game Plus, because I'd kind of forgotten that was a thing. And I was just like, I just want to play this a bit more. And then got way too busy to keep going with it. But it definitely makes you want to know, great, we've now seen this big bad and we've discovered there's more to it. I feel some victory, but oh my gosh, what else is out there?
Yep, exactly. And it was, I loved the final area where you're fighting on the Citadel, and one of my favorite areas in the game, which has always been Ilos, and just learning about the Protheans and like the history and all that. So just seeing how all that came together. But like Greg said, like seeing that there's more to come, even though this part's over, there was like just enough finality while telling you, yes, there's more coming. There's more guys like Sovereign coming. Beware.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I remember going through Ilos and having Vigil's theme play in the background while you talk to the Vigil was one of my favorite moments from this game in general. And then I felt like it wrapped up pretty well, even just for like the first game in the series. It does, like you guys said, it has that kind of finality feel to it, while still like telling you that there's going to be more to come, and it's just a good way to wrap up.
Yeah,
for sure.
I agree. I think they did a good job with making it feel like the first entry. There's more to come, but they didn't make it end on the kind of cliffhanger that they could have.
It wasn't the Halo 2 ending.
No, but it's just like the whole package. I mean, even when it was new, you could see some of the jank and the issues, and it's more pronounced now, having come back to it after over 10 years. But the whole package is still, I think, super strong, and it's for everything that maybe it gets wrong. I think the best thing is that it really does set up that world and the story and the characters and it makes you want to continue in that universe, even if the story is saying you're going to, but it's like, I haven't had enough. I want to know more. I want to learn more. So
Yeah,
it's kind
definitely.
of the best way you can end a first game in a trilogy. And yeah, Ilos, holy crap, that place still kind of really weirds me out with the way I know it's a forgotten world that's fallen to ruin, but like all of the architecture and the sculptures, the really creepy sculptures that you see throughout the place, was kind of like, is this Prothean art or are these corpses?
And it's very reminiscent of Geiger's work for Alien and his artwork in general. Like, it just seems like there was a certain homage they were paying to a lot of the sci-fi roots that we've had through the ages with this, one of the first major like sci-fi RPGs beyond Knights of the Old Republic. But like, this was their own IP, so they could make those call outs and not have to just use what's already existing. And I found, it was definitely super creepy. And you're like, the same question is like, did they all just kind of die frozen here? Which seems odd, because did they just accept their fate and just sit down on benches and let it happen? Or it's stirring to see all these like very still, giant kind of creepy forms looming in the shadows. And the lighting does a really good job with the way they have the lighting all set up to kind of cast those really extreme shadows on them too.
Oh yeah, I love the lighting in Ilos for that reason.
Yeah, definitely. And all the like the particulates that are in the air, it definitely sells the feeling of this world just got it's been frozen in time, and this is the ruins of what was once probably a really great city, but everything's dusty and messy and overgrown, and it's you're kind of left wondering what life was like here before the Reapers. Okay, so I guess backing up just a little bit then, since we're talking about Ilos, we have to talk, I guess, about Vermeer and what everyone did on Vermeer, because that's one of those big decision points in any playthrough is who did you save? Who did you sacrifice? Did you save Rex? Did you kill Rex? Did you save Caden? Did you save Ashley? Let's talk about the Vermeer survivor.
I usually try and save Rex when I can. Usually because I like him too much for me to just let him get killed off, and he plays such a big role later on in the trilogy that I feel it's really important that you save him here. But
and Reeve is an asshole, so
yeah. I strongly dislike Reeve, so I tried to save Rex in my first game and it failed, so I made sure to actually be able to do that this time. So I'm like, I want Rex, damn it. I've never had Rex in any of my full playthroughs, so it was nice to be able to do that.
I forgot it was even an option to lose Rex, to be honest.
I did too.
I guess it's in that confrontation moment, I suppose, but it just... just the way I had him as Renegade, but it just got to a point where there's that option of mutual respect kind of thing, so it just didn't really become an option to off him.
Yeah, I think the only way to actually to lose him is to not do his quest. His side quest was to go get his family armor. If you do that quest, then you're pretty much guaranteed to save him every single time.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't do that, but I still had him at the end. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I did that in my first game, and I lost him. So I don't remember back then how I lost him. I just chose the wrong options, I guess, during the confrontation. But it can definitely happen. That's all I'm going to say.
I think Ashley, if you take too long talking, she'll just shoot him. So
you know what?
If you,
I think that's what happened, actually. And she just But I did have Shepard get sort of pissed off at her for it. But obviously he was gone, and it was a little late at that point.
That'd be really dramatic. Just like, Ashley, what the heck?
Yep.
I had this.
We're just talking.
I had a gun in his face. I could handle it. I can take care of myself. Come on.
Exactly.
But to that note,
Speaking of Ashley, so who did everyone save? I'm very curious. And did you romance the person that you saved? Or did you sacrifice the person that you were romancing?
I never liked Ashley, so she's almost always my sacrificial pawn. I think there's maybe one playthrough where I was like, well, let's save her and see what happens. And I still don't like her in the next 2 games.
I've, what did you call it? Shepard Prime? Prime Shep?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Alpha
Shep. There we go. I'm getting there. Alpha Shep, I saved Caden, but this time around I wanted to do it differently, so I saved Ashley for this run and was also romancing her because I had romanced Liara in the first one with Alpha Shep, so just wanted to see what her options was. But it felt really like it really ramped up the romance. Like I found they played it subtle and coy when you are romancing Ashley, which is interesting. But out of nowhere, it all of a sudden just is like, okay, coy, let's do this. After the dramatic stuff that happens on Vermeer, and it just kind of came a bit out of nowhere. It just kind of lacked the smooth, seamless storytelling I think that they developed with the romances over the course of the next couple of games, and then with the interactions that you have in like Dragon Age, for example, it makes a lot more sense to have those romances growing. Whereas this one, it's mostly if you decide to go talk to them on the ship or not, but there's really no growth to those relationships in the missions themselves. They're just pawns that you bring to shoot at things. So it didn't feel as organic, which is interesting going back and seeing that's one of the very few cracks the game has in its age.
Yeah, that's one thing I kind of like more about Dragon Age's relationship and conversation system is being able to talk to your party members while you're out and about and actually have those full dialogue trees instead of having to always talk to your people on the ship.
And like you said, too, having them also have a genuine opinion on what is happening as opposed to person A, whoever that is, has this opinion, person B has this opinion. Doesn't matter who they are, as we discussed in the last episode. So it just makes it feel a lot more alive, too, with when you have the Dragon Age option.
Yeah.
I would kind of like if they put the Dragon Age kind of way of having characters actually influence the mission if they were brought along. That would have made things so much more organic and would have given this character a lot more depth.
Yeah, like, I mean, since they give you their opinions on the major decisions on every plot world, pretty much, up to Vermeer, it would have been interesting if, instead of just being a talking head, that they actually would have maybe done things differently or reacted to you differently. I mean, they can tell you Ashley and Caden will give you their opinion on the ship, but it's just like I think this, and I'm still cool with you.
Yeah.
I still wanna, if you're romancing, I still want to have sex with you. So,
Still want to talk about my family / still want to talk about poutine. Depends on
pretty much.
Or poutine and headaches, I suppose.
The foods of my people.
Poutine and headaches. That's Caden in one little package.
In a nutshell.
Who did you two romance? Because or all three of you actually. Because I don't think you said either who you romanced, Caitlin.
So I usually save Ashley. Because I don't really care for Caden very much. Ashley, some of her story annoys me, but I do find her backstory more interesting than Caden's. And having gone through Mass Effect 3 with both of them, she's got a way more fun hangout on the Citadel DLC than Caden. Caden's Citadel DLC hangout is so boring, even if you're romancing him.
Yeah. Sure, he is Mr. Boring.
Yeah, he cooks for you, and if you're romancing, you cuddle. Whereas with Ashley, you get to go talk each other in a bar, and then together you beat up some drunks. Sorry, no contest, Caden there. So I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, Caden, bye bye. I did kind of do something different with this playthrough. Usually I don't romance him at all because I just don't like him that way, but I had my Shep kind of flirt with him and sort of build what would have become a romance, and then unfortunately she had to sacrifice him. I kind of thought that would make for an interesting headcanon backstory of a what-if scenario going forward, because of course she's going to romance Garrus in a heartbeat in Mass Effect 2.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of drama on Garrus's part, like, would she really be with me if Caden were still alive? And, because drama.
Because drama.
I'm sorry, I'm really bad at commitment.
I get close to a friend and then I let them die. So just be careful, Garrus.
Yeah.
And what about you, Liz?
I chose not to romance anyone because in my one playthrough prior that I actually been able to complete, I sacrificed Ashley. So I decided to sacrifice Caden this time. I thought about romancing him. I tried in my first playthrough and I failed. And I thought about, well, maybe I could successfully do it this time. Then I'm just like, Never mind. First, I'm gonna kill him. Second of all, I don't really like him. Plus, same as you. I was just gonna romance Garrus in the second game anyway, so I'm like, sorry, Kaden. Nothing personal. And so on a different playthrough this time. And so as a result, I didn't romance anyone because my other option would have been Liara, and as we all discussed in the previous episode, I really don't like her. Even if she's like really easy to romance.
Which is
Yeah, I
surprising
don't
for how
either.
closed off she is.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the opposite because I usually romance Liara. I accidentally did it this time again because she's just so easy to romance that I accidentally did it. So, like, I was actually planning for this playthrough to not romance anyone because I wanted to do Tali in Mass Effect 2. But yeah, I messed up again, so I guess I got to break it off with Liara in Mass Effect 2 when I play through it.
Or you could romance Tali and then have Liara get all angry and jealous about it and layer the Shadow Broker.
Exactly.
I could.
Which I fought for a split second about doing that because I love her comment about Garrus. In that, like,
oh yeah,
like, I hear that Garrus is doing more than just calibrating the Normandy's guns, and I'm like. But in the end, I couldn't bring myself to do it because I just, like Liz, I don't really like. I like her more in 2 and 3, but I don't like her in Mass Effect 1.
Yeah, same.
And I think that I think BioWare might have picked up on that because they really did have her do a 180 in her personality, and even her voice acting changed. Ali Hillis kind of shifted. She got much more breathy in 2 and 3 and made her sound, a bit gruffer, which I like.
And it fit her character growth. Because in 1, she's like not very well socialized at all, and that's part of why she clings to you so hard. Whereas in 2 and 3, she went out and did all the stuff and basically became the Shadow Broker. So obviously she's grown up and gone through some stuff. So I think her slight change in Ali Hillis' voice was totally fitting. That said, I think she does get a little bit clingy in 3, like a little bit. You can almost accidentally romance her there too, but it's not quite as in your face as 1.
All right, well, let's move right along, and let's talk about the bad guys a little bit. We couldn't really discuss them in the first episode because we hadn't actually met all of them yet. But now that we've finished the game and we have the whole story, we can talk about Saren and Sovereign and the Reapers and... Wow. Like, I remember the first time I played through when you first meet Sovereign on Vermeer, the holograph of him, and you realize it's not just a ship, it's a Reaper, and you sort of get a sense of how Reapers think and their whole, like, we are unknowable, we are super powerful, there's no way you can defeat us, we are going to kill all of you because we are your whatever. I thought that was such a cool moment. That expanded the universe like tenfold there to have that backstory thrown into you. And then when you learn more about the Protheans on Ilos from Vigil, and you understand about the extinction of the Protheans and why Sovereign needs Saren to do his bidding, and the whole thing was just so super cool. It's one of my favorite moments, I think, ever in an RPG is that meeting Sovereign and sort of piecing together the real story that no one in the universe, no one in the galaxy knew up until now about the Protheans and what happened.
Mm-hmm. And then they still don't want to believe it when you bring it forward.
Right?
Exactly.
That damn council.
I just love the gravitas of that performance. It's probably one of the best performances in the game is that first meeting, and I had completely forgotten about it because it's just been so long since I played it. When I got back there, it was a kind of a nice surprise discovery again of like, oh yeah, these people. I mean, I knew they were part of the whole thing, but I just forgot about this moment where you are first introduced to them and just how heavy it is, and just like what's the word I'm looking for? Like Sovereign is just so dismissive. And that just like is exuding from its presence and from its voice of just like, I'm monologuing, it's true, but really, you're so beneath me.
It was that kind of moment where you're just like, wow, we're actually screwed if this invasion happens.
Yeah, just like looking at Sovereign and just realizing that, oh my god, there's a whole fleet of him coming. Like, I don't know how I feel about this. A little bit terrified.
And then you put all the pieces together too about like how the mass relays actually kind of look like their design and all that sort of stuff too. And you're just like, oh gosh, nope, they've got us.
It looks like
Now
just like a Reaper, and you're just like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Well, it's when it's.
I love that they worked that in though. I thought that was really cool. Even if the realization is like, oh, bleep.
Yeah, exactly. And then when it like latches onto the Citadel, and you just you're like, oh yeah, mass relay right there. I see it.
Yep.
Yeah, that was an awesome moment too. I mean, like, it makes you go back and sort of reanalyze everything that the game has told you about the Citadel and mass relay technology up to that point. And you're like, oh.
And it's kind of like that classic story that, we found toys and we're just like, well, these are ours now, obviously. Like, there's the universe collectively decided, like, well, no one else seems to be using them and didn't really look too hard into it.
Finders keepers.
Right? The Reapers are like, perfect.
And the Reapers are just like, this is the perfect. We know you organics will discover it like this and use it like this. It's perfectly fine by us.
And I guess it makes a certain amount of sense because you see how superioristic the council races are, and how it's all just like, this is the way things are, this is the way we do things, everything goes according to our design or whatnot. And I mean, like, on the one hand, it's like, you people are stupid, but on the other hand, it makes sense that they would just come here, find this technology, assume that they had mastery of it, and that was that. They kind of exude that sort of haughty sort of, I don't have to really, be bothered with super hard critical thought because I'm so powerful, old, ancient, whatever, kind of going on there. So, and, it works to their downfall eventually, but, I don't know. It's the Reapers, I'm sure, probably knew full well, because we have no clue, like, how many cycles they've been doing this, but they probably have been doing it for a while, and they can predict how intelligent races are going to react to this kind of thing. Until, of course, the Protheans get a last-minute save in there and screw up their plans with the Keepers, which also was a really cool moment to learn what the Keepers are and how they function and how they use them, the Protheans use them in the end to give that sliver of hope for the next cycle. So Saren's an interesting mix in here because you spend 3/4 of the game thinking that he's the big bad, that he's the primary enemy, and learning about, once you learn about the Keepers and why Sovereign even needed him in the first place, and you learn about how he's totally being indoctrinated even though he doesn't want to admit it. How do we feel about Saren? Do we like him as a bad guy? Did anyone end up feeling sorry for him at the end? Did anyone at the very end convince him to kill himself?
Yes.
I usually go like the full like persuasion option in this game, so in the end I just convinced him to kill himself.
I forgot that was an option.
I think he...
Oh, so you fought him?
I did fight him, and again, as I remember it being the first time around, the fight was very underwhelming.
Yeah, he's a wuss.
Yeah, and I mean, I had a sniper rifle mastery, so it was a little hard to track him, but I found just Tali and Garrus just ripped him up, and I really didn't have to do much work.
Nice. Yeah, the renegade option of getting him to kill himself is basically Shepard telling him there's one way to end this, Saren, or something like that, if you've got the guts. And then and then the Paragon way, which I looked up on YouTube like some years back, was like he kind of like opts himself into it, and Shepard's like no, and he just kind of does it anyway, if I recall.
And is that
Shepard's trying to convince him that he can save himself, but then Saren comes to the realization the only way he can save himself is to kill himself.
Yeah, pretty much.
And is that if you've kind of mostly maxed out your Renegade and or Paragon options?
Yes.
Because I think I was one shy of the last like chunk of Renegade stuff.
It's just based on your charm or intimidate points. It's a lower check if you charmed or intimidated him on Virmire. It drops down to like a 9-point check, I think, if you did that. Otherwise, it's, I think, a max check.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I wasn't at max because my Renegade wasn't high enough for me to max out my Intimidate.
Always more playthroughs.
There's always more playthroughs in Mass Effect. There's always more things you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and do it on Insanity.
I do want to try that out. I'm really curious to see what that brings to the game.
And I just some parts of the game are hell because there's some difficult.
Yeah. Really, really fast. I of course convinced Saren to kill himself, renegade style, because I ultimately like the renegade version of that. That much more than the Paragon one, and it just like it felt like it made sense, even if the conversation doesn't necessarily flow as organically as it could have. It does kind of feel like at the last second Saren realizes what he's become and whatnot. I don't know. It would have been maybe a little bit better if that had flown a bit more organically, but ultimately, I just like the idea that you still ultimately find the humanity, the Turianness, I don't know, in him, and get him to pretty much take the only way out that he can. It isn't horrible. But yeah, Saren, I mean, he's cool. The one thing I find interesting about Saren is he doesn't look like any other Turian in any of the games.
He really doesn't.
Yeah, it's not even just like all the little mechanical modifications that he has, which are also really weird. I mean,
really creepy, but right.
Yeah, so. I feel like that should have been something that happened gradually over the course of the game. That he starts out not looking like half a machine, and then by the end, because I always assumed that those were meant to be basically the implants that Sovereign gives him.
I agree.
But to be fair,
sorry, go ahead, Nathan.
No, I was going to say because the we can see when someone's indoctrinated, because the Elusive Man in 2 and 3 is kind of looks like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always took it as his war wounds and stuff at first because I'd forgotten about the fact that he got modifications and stuff, and I always took it as just all of his years in combat and stuff. He's just taken the odd injury and such like that, and then has just gotten implants to kind of keep going. So he had like a hose to like repair like a ruptured lung or something like that. And then once you get to the end, it's just like, oh, I've got all these implants. I'm like, oh, those have always been there, man. You're only just deciding to use them now?
Yeah, right? I do think he's been indoctrinated for like a really long time, going by the book that takes place a good while before Mass Effect 1.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, even then, he was already way into the indoctrination more than he'd like to admit.
But he also has that weird fringe on the side of his head that you don't see in any other Turian in any of the games at all. Like, no Turian has that weird side fringe going on, which is nice. I mean, it makes him unique, but I always find myself wondering, okay, so what's the story behind that? Is that like a rare thing? Does it mean anything? Is it like, is he old? Is it maybe an age thing? Do they grow extra fringe as they get older? Yeah. I don't know. But, and I don't know if I haven't bothered to look through and see if there's any backstory from the developers as to what was the idea there. Or because it could just be, hey, this makes him look cool and more badass. Yeah. So yeah.
Should we kill the only Turian unicorn?
Well, maybe.
New Mass Effect 1 DLC, the last Turian unicorn.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, okay, that's the bad guys. So let's talk about the other bad guys, and that would be the Council. Because, I mean, let's be real here. And I'm sorry, we try to be PG here, but I'm just going to say it. They're a bunch of dicks.
They really are.
Who doesn't love bureaucracy?
Guess who killed the Council?
I did.
Yeah, oh, wow.
I'm the one who saved them because I'm Paragon.
I saved them, too.
Okay.
Yeah, I saved them with Alpha, but this one time I murdered them, and then, it's just interesting, the option that comes afterwards, and the choices you can make to be like, we're taking over. I'm like, oh wow, this is an angle that went real dark. I'm really curious how this will play out subsequently.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because I don't see that before.
Because in Mass Effect 2 and 3, it makes more sense to have the Council alive the whole time because it just flows better as a story. Because in Mass
Yeah.
Effect 2 and 3, you never see the human council. And in 3, the council, the council of Asari, Slayers, and Turians are back anyway. So almost like it doesn't even matter in Mass Effect 1.
Yeah, they're just
that's how I felt.
slightly different versions, colored versions, whatnot.
Yeah.
And I'll fully admit part of my decision. I mean, most of it was role playing because my shepherd wouldn't let them die. But I don't like on Mass Effect 2 if you kill the council, everyone on the in the wards hates you or hates humans, and
that's
that
true
always
too.
felt super uncomfortable. And you don't get some of the really funny conversations like the guy who runs the adventure travel service who, like, once you tell them who you are, he's like, I'll name my firstborn after you.
Oh yeah.
I kind of just, I need that one scene because it's so stupid. So it's like, okay, I'll keep the council alive for that.
But you figure like the other, like the Volus and the Elcor might be happier. Like there's openings. There's 2 more spots now. We're looking at you.
Now just 3 humans instead. Which is
Just
just
interesting.
Or
I was gonna say,
Imagine 3 Elcor.
oh my gosh, nothing would ever happen.
Hashtag free Elcor.
No, yeah.
They'd be talking about it like decades later.
Right? They're like the treants.
A single
of Mass Effect.
conversation.
For that matter, I guess, Liz, who did you choose to have take over?
I still chose Anderson.
You did? Me too.
Because
Didn't feel right
as,
to choose what's his face.
as renegade as I
Yeah.
was, I could never ever
Udina.
stand Udina from the beginning. So like, and even so, that choice still doesn't matter in the future games because he's like, oh, I got stuff to do. So and then Udina's still doing what he's doing in Mass Effect 3, regardless of what you chose. It's like, well, at least as
The
far
only
as I
thing that
remember.
happens is Gina will let you become a Spectre again, and no matter what the choice is. That's the only thing.
Oh
interesting.
yeah.
It's not worth it, though.
Yeah.
It's not, that guy deserves to get snubbed. And I'm also curious, when it came time to break the Normandy out of the Citadel, did anyone choose to have Anderson go sucker punch Udina, or did we all
Hell
go
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
to... Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did that with my alpha, but this time I had him go down to the controls and he got shot. And I was like, oh my gosh, should I kill Anderson? And I felt really bad, especially after the conversation we'd had on the first episode and likening him to the Mass Effect dad. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've killed our dad. And I felt terrible. But thankfully he was there in the end and fine. I was like, okay, good.
Okay, yeah, I've never picked that option, so
Yeah,
no.
I never picked that option, even when I was Renegade. I was just like punch Udina.
He does still sucker punch someone, but
Oh,
I think it's a Turian guard. He just comes up and clocks him and then starts doing stuff.
It's
and then,
not as satisfying.
That's
then
why, because it's not Udina.
yes,
and then a Solarian shoots him.
I wanted to, but I like the sequence with the down at Seasick better. It feels a bit more epic, and especially with the music. I really wanted to punch Udina, but I was kind of like, that was just me being picky because I'm like, I want the scene to be perfect.
This is my perfect movie. My magnum opus. It is, you feel very much like you're in control of, kind of directing a big sci-fi epic by the end of it all, and the role that you've played in it.
Mm-hmm.
And
You gotta get the shot just right.
yeah, and I wonder, like, for people playing it through the first time who don't have any preconception of what their options will mean, like there's a certain excitement, but yeah, did you find, I guess, going back into it the second time, you had a certain color of like the beats you wanted to hit throughout the story specifically?
Yeah, definitely. In terms of both like where I went and how I responded to certain things. I mean, I've played the game multiple ways enough times to know, if I pick this option, what does Shepard say? And so it's always it's less. I was metaing, I guess, a little bit, metagaming a bit by picking the options I wanted to hear, and sometimes and not necessarily pure role playing, but there's just some really good lines in this game that even if it's not necessarily in line with my Shepard's alignment, I was just like, I can't pass this up. Like when my quote and my nickname, you assume I give a damn. Like,
Yep.
I'm not really sure my Shepard would actually be that dismissive, especially standing in front of a nuclear weapon, but it's just such a good quote. Oh, and the your grasp of the obvious is inspiring. I would not be that dismissive
quote.
to my squad mates, but I just can't You can't resist.
Just the way she says that, I was just like, oh my god, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's a sick burn.
It really is. It's pretty. It's like you've just done permanent damage. Were this a Telltale game, she would remember that.
Holy crap, I didn't realize you had Inferno ammo in your gun, Shepard.
Jeez.
That's half the fun with a game like this.
I know, right?
With any BioWare game, really, is finding the hilarious quotes and then abusing them.
I was going to ask Lara on a date, but she shot me with cryo ammo.
Oh, she gave you the cold shoulder?
Oh, God.
Yes, her aim is very good.
Shot through the heart?
And you're to blame?
We could. I could keep going probably, but maybe I should.
All right, audience, thanks for sticking with us for this long. We're sorry to alienate you all, but it's been great.
Let's talk about the Mako, because that's what everyone I think was waiting for, is to hear us bitch about the Mako. So
Mako's the worst thing ever in a video game.
it is. It's so bad. I find myself imagining, okay, there must be some really good restraints or anti-grav inside the cabin of that thing, because the amount of times I went tumbling end over end, just trying to get over not even necessarily a mountain, but just like a medium-sized hill. There were so many of them, and I fully expect that all of my squad hates Shepard with a burning passion whenever she talks about going to an uncharted world, because they're like, you cannot drive worth a damn, Shepard.
I would just think it'd be
she's
so
like,
hilarious.
I'd like to see you guys try.
Right? I think it'd be hilarious if you just did one of those like random weird tumbles down a mountain, or just took a jump and landed it in a really weird snappy way, and like the Mako's in perfect health, but suddenly she's like, boom, 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 game over, because they all snap their necks.
Yeah.
It's really hard to imagine how they don't.
Right?
With the way that
It's
thing runs.
It's like, is this a Rocky Mountain or is this a bouncy castle? Like, what the hell?
Well, it's for me, especially with the levels that it's relegated on for the missions, it just feels like the developers kind of looked over and were like, hey, Halo had a weird wonky vehicle. Let's do that thing. People seem to really like that. And then they kind of did it, because the controls do feel very similar in a lot of ways, because I find controlling the warthogs very weird and backwards, but they just don't have that same amount of bounce. There's more weight to the warthog.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, it is not. And it's also funny too that each planet you go to, even though it dictates that, like, oh, they have this gravity or that gravity or whatever, like it all feels the same.
It really does.
I remember being stuck trying to climb a mountain for like 5 minutes. And I remember actually getting stuck in a hole. For some reason, there's like 4 sharp, like really steep hills around me.
I did have to restart once because of that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes it's not just the Mako it's the problem, it's the terrain. Like all of those
there's way too many
sheer
mountains.
cliffs. Yeah.
Which brings me to Notacrux.
Oh god.
That was the planet that made me go like, oh my gosh, why am I doing any of this anymore? Like I was just trying to get to one point for a good half an hour, because it just was, I don't know who designed where to put like the points of interest, but like 2 of them were just near impossible to get to. I was like, okay, I'm going back to Skyrim. I'm getting a horse, because Mako is not cutting it.
Mako Rim.
Love all the horses in Skyrim can climb the mountains, but the stupid advanced vehicle can't.
And like the jets do nothing. It's like
they're like detrimental.
Like, what was the point?
Honestly.
Yeah.
It's
never help you.
Yeah, every time you're stuck, it just makes you fly like off of the mountain.
And there's never an obstacle that you require them for. Like I could see it if you had to like hop a lava flow or something. If you had to that would have been kind of neat. But like there's nothing ever interesting enough to use them for with that.
The only thing that they're possibly good for is dodging missiles and energy blast from Geth Colossi, I guess. But even then, like, it's just so much easier just to move back and forth and strafe instead of having to time the jump right.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there's no point.
I've also just used the jets just to crush things, like enemies
I can see that
on the ground. That's the only thing I use it for.
And I guess to that point, like I found myself even with a lot of missions when I was encountering some of the stuff, especially once I got my Spectre sniper rifle, I would get out of the vehicle and kill them because it gave me more experience. and I was really trying to gun
same.
for getting really a higher level. So,
And the gun on that thing is so stupid. It only moves horizontally. You cannot. If the Mako is not in the right position, if you're like too high
you're on
or
elevation?
too low,
Yeah.
you can't shoot anything, and it's stupid.
But
it's flaws
but
when
that's
things
it.
get close to you.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
At least it's powerful.
I hated
so
shooting in that
you
thing.
just like kill anything with it.
Yeah, the cannon's really powerful. So, and it has a pretty generous cooldown period.
Yeah,
so you can
it's
use it
satisfying when
pretty
you hit
often.
things with it for sure, but it's just
Exactly. Like, I enjoyed that part of it. It was definitely powerful if you could land it, but, like, in general, I really hated shooting with the Mako. It was just, like, awkward, and I missed way more often than I'd like to admit. I did like driving around it and exploring with it. It was also almost kind of fun, like, trying to take on the challenge of, like, climbing a steep hill, and it actually worked a lot for me. I mean, it definitely tumbled in those weird angles, but I liked the Mako sometimes, but mostly I hated on planets like Novaria, where I had to actually shoot things.
I preferred it during story missions, actually, because I preferred when I didn't have to climb up anything. I prefer when I could just use it as a tank. But
yeah, and it just has like a plot.
Yeah.
On Uncharted Worlds,
It's
I just couldn't deal with it. It was just a pain.
It's kind of telling that for the plot worlds, you don't have extreme angles to climb or whatnot. It's all usually a straight, flat line.
So that was nice.
Which I'm grateful for. Yeah. Yeah, the worst thing with the Mako is having to when you climb a mountain and you eventually get to learn enough times the precise angle at which you can just barely make progress versus no, you're going to start backtracking and oops, you just fell down the mountain you were trying to climb for 5 minutes.
Again, no to crux.
I've never done that.
I usually tackle mountains at a 45-degree angle just because that's the angle it seems to work at.
Yeah. But it seems sometimes so random. It's like there's barely any difference, and this one is just, or if you angle in the right direction too, you can't always go straight up.
Yeah, you got to kind of cross to the right or the left slightly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I may have experimented with that way too much, just seeing what angles I can get away with. I mean, I could have driven around the mountain too, but that's no fun.
And then the planets themselves were so like sparse and lifeless in a lot of ways. Like, I mean, the whole thing just kind of seemed, again, very tacked on. Like they had the idea and they just didn't get to quite fully explore it. And so it's just, you have all these planets and like you'll see a description, I forget which one it was, there's something saying like this one is largely like water-based and has lots of big, beautiful oceans and such, and yada, yada, yada. But where we are, I don't see any water whatsoever. Joker just decided to land us in like the one section where you can't see water for miles. But it's just,
thanks, Joker.
You know, but even like, if they were able to program in some lakes or something like that, like, I mean, that's part of the fun of Vermeer. Like, it's just really neat going up alongside the oceans. And they gave you roadblocks so you couldn't just go off into the ocean. Like, they definitely gate kept what they wanted you to have access to, and they possibly could have gotten away with that here too. And like the same cows are in like all these various different planets.
Is that
shifty-eyed cow?
Just from the shifty cow.
I went up to him. He did not steal anything from me. I was very pissed, and I killed him because he wouldn't steal anything from me.
You have to turn your back to him, and then he'll steal stuff.
I did.
Okay.
I did. I turned my back, and he didn't do anything. I was like, shifty cow broke. All right, well, I'm gonna shoot you anyway, just because you're shifty. I also killed all the monkeys on the.
I wanted to so bad on Paragon.
The monkey.
I
mission.
did.
I couldn't.
I think that mission just could have been so much better contrived.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, it was just such a weird needle in a haystack kind of thing. Like, if they had some sort of thing where it's like, oh, go down, like, capture one of the monkeys, and we can, like, isolate, you know, their particular genome or something. Like, as opposed to just, like, no, it's just a go talk to all the monkeys quest.
I like when your squad mates makes a really, like, sarcastic quip when you realize what you have to do.
Yeah, I think it was Rex for me, and I forget what it was, but, yeah. And it's just, they just seemed like they really underdeveloped a lot of what the planets had going on them. And even like I got really excited for the couple of the ones that you go to that have like a meteor shower going on above. Yeah. And it's like, oh, that's cool. And it'd be really nice to be like, I got to dodge these. That's cool. But no.
Nope. The worst that you have is environmental hazards, which none of them are super dangerous because they are all very generous with those timers that you have
Yeah.
to deal with. So
I've only got close, I think,
And then
once.
Thresher Maas on occasion.
Yeah.
And Thresher.
yeah, and I mean,
First-
even those, like once you learn how to deal with them, they're not dangerous at all.
Yeah.
Whatever
So-
reason, I got hit by them a lot. I'm not sure what I did my first like three playthroughs of this game, but this time I kept getting hit by them every single time. Like they'll come up beneath me, and I'm just like,
Ooh.
I've never been hit by them before. What is this?
Yeah, I lingered too close once, but after that, I never did.
Yeah,
I got
early
hit
on.
by acid once or twice.
Yeah.
The worst hazard for me, I would say, was snow because of the frame rate drop.
Oh yeah.
Oh, great.
Or 360 is bad with frame rate drops.
Yeah, I was playing on
Yeah.
360, and I was also playing on an external hard drive, so I think it was just a little bit
that's
more
rough.
sluggish,
Yeah.
but it was still fine. Like, I didn't really have too big of an issue, and it wasn't, like, unplayable, but it was just kind of funny. It was like, oh, yeah, that's really making it work. But it was still very...
I think Therum gave me a lot of frame rate issues when I was like going through the volcano area. It was just bad.
But that's very... I found, even throughout the entire game, like, graphically, I still find this game holds up really well. Like, it still looked pretty solid to me, and I found there was very few cracks where I was just like, oh yeah, this is a 10-year-old game. Like, it stands up pretty nice. We've definitely hit, we were definitely starting to go into a definite plateau in a lot of ways for the growth of graphical fidelity.
Yeah, I think probably the place where it shows the most age is just the character models and the hair and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it's-
Every single character
How
when
they
they're
move.
talking to you, they have the exact same they like put their hands like together, then they put them off to the side and stuff like that. It's just the same animation for every single character.
The finger point.
Yeah.
Finger point's my favorite one that everyone uses to, like, finger gun to get their point across.
Yeah.
They all picked it up from Anderson.
Space Dad.
He is Space Dad. Well, so we talked about some of our least favorite worlds. What were some of your favorite Uncharted worlds and/or side quests to do?
I can't remember the Uncharted Worlds names, but there's one where you get this really extended text about getting some kind of vision after you visit the consort. She gives you like this object and you can plant it somewhere. I forget what
Oh,
planet.
right, yes.
Oh, I
I
never
think
got
I think it's Nota Crux, but I
Oh.
can't remember.
I think it might be Nonocrux, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. You find this little ruin off in a corner somewhere, and it gives you a little text sort of adventure that was really cool.
Oh, neat. And I missed that.
Yeah, I might have missed it.
Yeah, you're like given the memories of, I guess, a Cro-Magnon or some sort of primitive human who discovers this weird spherical thing, like watching you.
It's like a protein
And-
artifact of some kind.
Yeah,
Oh, I
it's
think
like
I
some
found
sort
the
of
root.
surveillance thing.
Yeah, I think I found the
Oh.
thing where that goes into, but I didn't have the thing to activate the quest. I think I did find that.
Okay.
Oh, you didn't help the consort.
I guess not. Not the right way. I do remember helping her with something, but I don't know if I went back. I don't know.
Okay, you just probably didn't go back to talk to her again.
It's possible. I remember because I do remember doing the thing and helping her out with the issue with the drunk guy and all that sort of stuff. But and I just
General.
the general,
yeah.
thank you, yes. But I did go back to her, but I don't remember her offering me anything beyond that. But I can't recall. I can't remember what it was. I don't just know that whatever world it was I went to, like, it was either just before or just after Nota Crux, because I was going around just trying to complete the just some of the, like, collect the dog tags and collect the Turian symbols, just getting that stuff done just for my own completionist desires. There was one, like, it was all smooth driving. It was great. And I was like, this planet is what I like. This is great. And then after, it was either before or after Nota Crux that just gave, like, the polar opposite. So I was like, see, why can't I have more of this?
Yeah.
I just can't remember the name of it at all, but I just remember you get the odd one where it's got some nice stretches. And yeah, you got a bit of, like, mountains to climb, but, like, they're manageable. And it becomes, the challenge and the fun of it is more just kind of analyzing the map and being like, okay, this looks like a route that'll get me where I need to go if I just kind of detour a little bit, because there's definitely some reward instead of just trying to go straight from point A to point B. If you deviate a little bit and find, like, a nice natural ramp to take you up somewhere, it's great. And you feel super satisfied that you're like, I've analyzed the world. But if you're just trying to, like, bludgeon through it, as Shepard is wont to do, it can be a lot more challenging. So yeah, I found the worlds where it was a bit more gradual driving and just a little more analyzing the terrain, just kind of figure out where like the peaks and valleys and where like the natural entrances and choke points were to get through was a lot more fun.
Shepard likes to bludgeon. So one of my favorites is, and it's the reason why I chose the nickname I did, is this the one where you had to find the Alliance probe that is mysteriously in the exact opposite side of space from where it was supposed to be. And it's the whole bomb thing of the Terminus systems are trying to set a trap and it's largely just because of those quotes that you get to sass your party and sass, I can't remember his name, but the guy whose evil plans got thwarted during the Skillian Blitz or whatever. I just liked all of those options, and then you have to, the whole thing about getting trapped in the mine, having to defuse the bomb, and then getting through, and then finding the camp, and then killing the guy. It was fun, and the planet itself was really cool because it was nice and it was bright red because of the star that it was near. So I always liked that one a lot. And I also like the I can't remember the name of the planet, but when you find tombs, when you're dealing with the missing scientists.
Oh yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
that's a good
actually
one.
that was one of my favorite too.
Yeah, especially because my Shepherd, both my Alpha Shep and this Shep both had the Aku's background, so it was kind of personal to them to meet tombs and to hear what Cerberus. I mean, at that point, I'd already finished the Kahoku mission, so I already knew Cerberus was bad news.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Yeah, I'd forgotten they'd been hinted at in this one.
Yeah, the Kahoku mission is probably the big setup for like kind of knowing what Cerberus is from Mass Effect 2. It makes more sense that Shepard would know more about Cerberus after doing that mission in Mass Effect 2, because in Mass Effect 2 you just kind of presume that they know who Cerberus is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Liz and Nate, do you guys have any favorite side quests or Uncharted worlds?
I mean, there was the one where you find that artifact, so after you do a consort mission,
right,
and they put it there, and then there's the Koku side quest.
I like that side quest as well. I also liked, I know I talked about it sort of last episode, but there was missions based on your background. Like there's one based on if you're Earthborn or whatever, and there's also missions based on like if you got 75% Paragon or Renegade. The Renegade one was fun because like Hackett's basically like, I'm not telling you to kill people, but just go do this mission. And just he knew what you were gonna do. And the other one was like running into your old gang leader. There was one, I think I missed it this time, but there was one where you, because when you're ruthless, you basically kill your whole squad, and then your one commander above you basically got like PTSD from that. And he's like, when you meet him, he's like, oh, I'm like so messed up because of you. Blah, blah, blah. That was just really, really interesting, like having a little bit continuation from like, or continuity from what kind of backgrounds you chose. So I thought that was like a cool touch. I know we sort of talked about last episode, but I really like that they did that. I mean, they weren't like really big missions or anything, but just the fact that they did that was pretty cool to me.
Yeah, I definitely like those. The Aku's, well, not the Aku's one, the Soul Survivor, or colonist background one, where you have to talk down the girl, was always kind of tugging at my heartstrings for my Alpha Shep. And the one for Spacer, where you meet, and this is the really cool thing about that mission, is that you meet one of your mom's old crew members, and you find out that he actually went to Mindvar. He was one of the first responders for the attack on that colony. And that was always really cool to me to see. Like, I didn't choose colonist background this time around, but I'm very familiar with it, having had previous Shepherds, and kind of neat to see that connection with a different personal background quest kind of come in.
Yeah.
And I mean, I also liked that quest because you could talk to Shepard's mom, and it's like,
yeah,
it would have been cool if we could have like seen her, but I guess that would have been difficult based on how you customize your Shepherd. So not quite Mass Effect Andromeda, where you can make your dad look different based on how you make your rider appear, but yeah, it was really nice that they threw in those both personal background missions and also had side quests that had implications depending on your service history. So, and had people recognize you for your service history throughout the game. So, and I mean, like, it's not like it gets super complicated. It's not like you have super big branches depending on that. But it was still, I think, for the time especially, kind of impressive to say people are going to react to you differently based on your personal history, based on your service history. So
and I do like that they touched on the other backgrounds like Mindor and all that. Even if you didn't necessarily choose that, I like that it still comes up, and they don't like totally erase it just because you didn't choose it, which was pretty cool. It's still
everything doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Yeah.
I actually don't remember getting the Mindor one ever in any of my playthroughs, but I do remember the Akuz and the Skillia Blitz backgrounds, the stories that you get. They're all pretty cool. It makes your background actually mean something.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. This might be one of the first RPGs I played where you have that option to choose your background and have it affect things, and it was definitely a positive experience. So now, whenever I look at future RPGs, like, I don't know, I guess we don't have a whole lot of games where you are given the freedom to sort of define your own character. I mean, a lot of RPGs, especially, you almost never see that in JRPGs. JRPGs are very
linear.
You're playing a story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You're not making your own story. So, I mean, like, and even like big Western RPGs like the Elder Scrolls, you can make your own headcanon, but the game doesn't really give you any opportunity to pick a background.
Yeah.
And let it affect the overarching storyline. You're just making your own choices. You don't have like a DM who's taking that into account and adding it to the game. It's just whatever you choose to bring to it yourself.
Yeah. Aw, D&D.
Right. That's why we talked about the last time too, that it's those little things that kind of show those D&D elements at the core of like the Western RPG format that they tried to bring into this game.
Yeah. Well, since we're talking about quests, I think we all probably should have had access to at least one of these, but did you guys do either or both of the DLC missions, Bring Down the Sky and Pinnacle Station?
I've never done Pinnacle Station, but I love Bring Down the Sky because there's actually a lot of content there, and I actually really like, the asteroid and like the views of like the planet from it, and just like doing that whole quest to like basically save them. So I've always enjoyed that quest.
Yeah, it was really cool, kind of an Armageddon kind of thing where you're on the asteroid as it's barreling toward the planet. Only this time you're not trying to blow it up.
Yeah. And just going around to like avert its course or whatever. Yeah.
And it was cool to see the Batarians.
Yeah.
Because you don't see Batarians anywhere else in the game, even though they get mentioned.
Oh, they actually brought the Batarians into that part? That's cool. I had never done the DLCs myself, and I didn't take the chance to do them on this one, but I forgot even that they existed, to be honest. But I'm like, oh, this is a thing I'm probably going to do in a future playthrough.
Yeah, because if you don't play Bring Down the Sky, you don't see Batarians until Mass Effect 2.
Yeah. Aside from just, their entry in the Codex.
Yeah, that's all there is. So that was nice. It was kind of fun, and it's not like it's a super large piece of DLC, but it'll take you like an hour and a half to 2 hours, maybe max.
That's a nice little extra bit of content, as long as it's meaningful storytelling. Yeah,
and there's a handful of characters. You can do different things. There's a big moral choice to make at the end, which has doesn't really have super major consequences for Mass Effect 2, but at least gives you some more insight into the world. And it's kind of nice to set up DLC in Mass Effect 2 where you have to end up going into Batarian space and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear that it influences in that way.
Yeah.
And it was kind of funny, like, having my Shepherd react to them, like, because, of course, in the Ruthless background, you, like, basically killed a bunch of Batarians. So when she first sees them show up and Bring Down the Sky, you're like, Batarians, in, like, this really, like, disgusted voice. And it just felt so fitting. I don't know if, like, that's how she normally says it, but I just thought that was perfect.
Did you end up going after Balak, or did you let him go to save the hostages?
I decided to be nice and let him save the hostages. So I think I actually killed him in my first playthrough. But I was like, you know what? We need to like actually save people and be nice every once in a while. You know.
Not be
Yeah,
a
I let
total
him
renegade.
go too. I believe it.
And I
Nate, what about you?
This DLC I actually didn't play, so I'm not sure. I don't have much comment on it.
Aw. Well, I actually did Pinnacle Station for the first time on this playthrough because it came with my PC version,
Oh,
and
okay.
I never bothered buying it on 360 before. Because I mean, I knew what it was back then. It was just it's simulator fights with barely any, really like a minuscule amount of story. So I never bothered before, but hey, it's included, and it's simulator fights with barely any story and a really crappy apartment at the end. Like, I'm probably just a little bit jaded because the apartment that you get from Anderson in Mass Effect 3 is so swank.
So beautiful.
you got to
The
start
one you
somewhere
get from
though.
Pinnacle Station is so horrible. It's like it's a studio apartment in which I could not for the life of me figure out where the bathroom was. There's no bathroom in this apartment.
Literally unplayable.
So, like, I don't know how a person lives there.
I mean, I've been asking about Pokemon houses for years, but
And it's like, it's on a Mars-like kind of planet, all red and dusty and with no real pretty vistas to look at. So I guess if your dream was to have an apartment on Mars, that might work. But it's just like, it was kind of underwhelming. And the whole DLC is kind of underwhelming. The fights are just, it's more combat, and the only way to get all of the content and all the story is you have to beat others' scores, which I actually I had to lower difficulty in order to do some of the challenges because some of them were just really difficult for me to manage on even a normal difficulty. So, and I've said it before on podcasts, I'm not afraid. I don't feel any shame in lowering difficulty if I have to get through content. So I was like, okay, you want me to beat your stupid score killing a certain number of bad guys in a certain amount of time? Fine, I'm going down to casual.
I'm going to casually beat this.
Yeah, I would say you don't feel like you need Pinnacle Station at all. There's absolutely nothing of it that, as far as I know, carries over into the other games, or if there's anything, it's incredibly minor.
Because there's really no plot device to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only, I guess, advantage to it would be is that you can contact smugglers from your apartment, and you can spend credits to get a random item, and you can choose different tiers, so you can spend more credits to get like higher level items, and you can, I think, in theory, get stuff like Colossus armor.
Oh,
I
really?
don't know if you can get Spectre gear, but you can get some of the better armors in the game. But it's random, so you have to like
it's a gotcha game.
Save scum. Yeah,
It's a gotcha game.
it's a gotcha game.
Oh my god.
So at least it's in-game currency and not real money.
That's true.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. It just
Pinnacle Station is just kind of like, don't do it.
It doesn't sound like it has a lot of like end game value. It's more like it could be valuable if you do it early on in your save to try and maybe get some fun random equipment. But yeah, once you've already beaten it and have millions of credits and are just like, whatever.
Yeah, I maxed out on credits several times. I had to specifically go and just buy some random crap in order to lower my money so I could not waste money by finding all the gases and metals and the random artifacts and crap that I, of course, obsessed over getting because I want to make sure that when I meet Conrad Werner in Mass Effect 3, I have all of the required things to get him to help me.
Right.
Oh, Conrad.
Wow.
Oh, Conrad. Yes. Oh,
I forgot about
what did we
him.
do about Conrad? Did we all shove our guns in his faces or in his face?
Maybe.
I told him to go home.
I only
Don't you
started
like
his
it?
quest. I never got back to finishing it.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder how he'll respond in Mass Effect 2 then.
Yeah, that's curious actually.
Isn't he bugged in Mass Effect 2? Like, he reacts a certain way no matter what? Or did they ever, like, patch that?
I know for sure it's bugged on 360. I don't know if it's bugged on PC. I still put my gun in his face because I went to YouTube and I watched the Paragon version. I don't like it as much. I like his, you were my hero. Oh, and then he shoved a gun in my face. I learned what it's like to be truly extreme. I love that.
That was
so I
so
shoved my gun in his
funny.
face.
Yeah.
Conrad.
Yeah, that was hilarious to me. Like, I just like, all right, I guess I just can't deter you, or at least it's very hard to.
Oh, Conrad. Okay, so I think we're gonna wrap things up here. But the last thing I wanted to touch on, didn't want to forget about it. This is the soundtrack, because I think this is I mean, the whole trilogy's got great music, but this is the game that started it all, and it's a really interesting and fitting soundtrack for the game. Lots of electronic. There's not a whole lot in the way of real organic instruments.
Very 80s
totally
synths.
kind of. Yeah, 80 cents. It's perfect. And there's, I mean, yeah, it's good. I mean, I still think I prefer Mass Effect 2 soundtrack the most out of the 3 games, but there's definitely a lot of good stuff in Mass Effect 1. And just like, even just the main Mass Effect 3 theme, that gets reused throughout the trilogy is iconic. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Well, I always get kind of disappointed when I fire it up and then I go into like my save load, and as soon as it goes to the loading screen, you get like the whoomp 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 of the mass relay, and I'm sad that like that main theme goes away, because it's just so like introspective as a piece of music.
I prefer Mass Effect 2's music as well. Overall, that one's like more cinematic, but I just like how sci-fi the Mass Effect 1 soundtrack was, and it really like meshed with like the story and the graphics and everything, and it's just like, yeah, I am playing a sci-fi. And
Yeah,
just,
it brings it all together so nicely.
Exactly. And just how it fit with like the game, and it was and that Mass Effect theme. Oh my god! Anytime I like boot up the game, or even like start a play.
Which one? Vigil's theme, the one in the main menu.
That too,
Yeah,
but also
theme,
the Mass Effect theme, like when you're starting up a game, and then it's
that's one of my favorites. Yeah,
and it's leading up to like blah blah blah, and it was called Mass Effect, and it's just like, and it starts that music, and you get like goosebumps. Like even at the end when you finish the game, same thing. It's like you conclude the story, and then you hear the Mass Effect theme again, and it's just like, ooh, more goosebumps. I just love it. I just love that theme.
It's such a good theme. I love it.
I also really like the ending song.
Yeah,
Was so good.
I used to play a lot in college.
It feels.
I wasn't expecting that, actually.
Yeah. No, me neither. But it was catchy and it was different. I actually like, for some reason, like it reminded me of Garrus a lot. Like after Shepard dies early in 2, and then Garrus is just kind of all depressed and lonely from it. So like, and ever since I'm still associated with that. It's just like, oh, I mean, obviously it's not intended because she didn't die till Mass Effect 2, but
yeah, but no, I get you. I totally get you, and I kind of feel the same way. Even before Mass Effect 2 was a thing, I was looking at that song and it was kind of, because it I don't know, I need you to recover because I can't do this on my own. Kind of sounds a lot like, it's not a romance specifically, but it sounds like you're talking to someone who's really important to you. So
and who like really inspired you, and then just like, I need you to, just kind of be there.
Yeah.
From far away.
It's some good stuff.
Yeah.
It's some good stuff. The whole game is some good stuff. The whole series is some good stuff. So.
One thing I did want to quickly speak to before we wrap that up too, with bringing up that opening video that I kind of forgotten about, and I remember I just kind of let my playthrough sit for a second when I was starting up the game, and that video went through, and that has that kind of proposed scenario of the game of like, oh, there's this call coming in, and you cut it off and you go somewhere else. That's one thing I really wish they had been able to capture in this game, because I know that video and the whole theme of the entire series is like making choices and your choices matter, but it still has a little bit of Legend of Zelda syndrome that like I can make those choices when I feel like it, but there's no like urgency. And I think it would have been really great if they could have made those things like, oh, if you choose not to answer this call, then yeah, that quest is now gone. Those people have died. You weren't able to help them because you chose to do this thing. Yeah. And I get that cool. Kind of happens in your conversation streams, but it's never so much, it's never big enough to overall affect like an actual like quest outcomes, the quest options, so to speak. Like it just would have been so great to like have, you have like, 20 in-game minutes to decide if you're going to go to this planet or not. And if you don't, well, then the quest is gone and those people are dead, and then that has an outcome further down or whatever. I thought that would have been really great if they could have captured what that video expressed. But we still got something really great out of that, and I'm sure it would have been very hard for them to do at the time. I'm sure that's what that was their proof of concept, and they're like, well, we almost did it. Right?
Close enough.
Exactly. And we still get a lot of stuff where we feel like we have an onus over what we do as a character. But yeah, it just would have been really neat in any of those games not to have that whole like, well, the world's gonna die. I'll get to it when I feel like it. I need to go find some minerals.
Like 40 hours.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
That
like,
gold's not gonna get itself.
Yeah. Like you kind of don't get that sense of urgency, even though the situation sounds like really urgent, and it's like, okay, well, they're dying, but I can get to it in like for 30, 40 hours
right?
or so.
It took too long, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's a whole lot of Krogans down there because he's already started building the army because you took so long to get to Vermeer or something. Like that just would have been really fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been cool. And they kind of like, you know, when they give you the major plot worlds, you're told off the bat that Pharos is in bad straits. So you know that something has happened there, but you can choose to not go there until the last minute, and nothing changes. So.
Right? That would have been you go there and everyone's already enslaved or something. So fascinating.
Oh,
yeah, they're all already thralls, and you just have to kill them all, and I don't know.
You're just sad.
So, yeah.
At the end of it all, him on his knees, that opening theme playing, just staring at his gun.
Yeah.
Drama.
It's something that BioWare could definitely work on in the future, assuming that they are able to do so. I don't know. Anthem's not going to be that game.
No.
Maybe the next Dragon Age that we know they're working on, but who knows when that's going to come out. So
yeah, it's something they never really brought to Dragon Age either. Like that time matters. I haven't really seen any game capture that per se that I can think of off the top of my head. But at any rate, that was just.
Well, you know, Mass Effect 2 does kind of give you that.
Oh, really?
You do actually have a time limit in Mass Effect 2.
It's been a while, so I don't remember. But
basically, after it totally depends on how you do main story missions. But once the Normandy gets attacked by the Collectors and your crew gets stolen, you have a limited amount of time to do the final mission. It's a certain number of missions after the Normandy gets attacked that you have to do it. And usually you can totally ignore. You can totally bypass that by just waiting to do the last story mission until you've done everything else. So they tried a little bit there, but even then, like, again, all you have to do is just delay going to the last main story mission, and it's not a problem. So.
got it.
I think you're given one like mission leeway. Like I think you can do Legion's loyalty mission because it's the last crew member you're getting to. So I think that's the only mission. That's the only leeway mission you get.
Which, it kind of sucks because I love Legion. I'd like to get him earlier and take him on other loyalty missions and crap like that.
I've been watching some like Mass Effect scenes, like when you take Legion onto Tally's loyalty missions, and he
Yes!
and they're basically like, get off my ship right now.
I think what we're learning here is we're going to have to all get together and do a Mass Effect 2 playthrough sometime in the future.
Too.
And
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I could do that.
Yeah.
That will come. I'm sure it may not be in the near future, but I guarantee you guys that's going to happen.
Well, its 10-year anniversary's got to be coming up shortly, so I'm sure we can catch it soon.
Oh yeah. Actually,
Mass Effect 2 is what, 2009, 2010?
2010.
Yeah, something like that. So we're coming up on that either next year or the year after. So look forward to it. In the words of Square Enix, look forward to it.
In the words of Yoshida.
If it's from Yoshi P, I will look forward to it because Yoshi P delivers. The rest of Square, but that is a story for another podcast.
We have,
Indeed.
I think we've had a really good conversation. We've talked about everything, so let's wrap things up, and I'll do my usual outro housekeeping things. Coming up next on Retro Encounter next week is it's the beginning of Lunar month. Playing both Lunar and Lunar 2 all month. Next week is going to be part 1 of Lunar Silver Star Story. So if you're a big Lunar fan, or if you've never played the games and you're interested, please do check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. I love Lunar, even though I've still not managed to beat either game. I'm bad.
I've never played them. I know very little about them. So
Same.
my
I'm the same
entire
way.
idea is that like a bunch of JRPG characters, because I've seen at least the promo art, and a cat or like a cat dragon, they're going to go and build a shuttle and fly to the moon for the United States of America. Right? That's Lunar? That's the Silver Star story? Yeah?
My experience is the boat song, and that's it. And I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
God.
Oh, it's such a good song. It's such a good song.
Either way, I'm really looking forward to hearing about this because those are games that I'm sad I missed out on. So, yay. Go Lunar
I like
Month.
that description.
I will see if I'm right. Tune in to find out, folks.
And if you want to get in touch with us about Retro Encounter, you can email us the email address is retro@rpgfan.com. You can also comment on our forum, our boards, on social media, Twitter, Facebook, and the like. You can also chat with us on our Discord server, which you can find links to all of those on our website. And come talk to us about your experiences with Mass Effect or other retro encounter games that we played. And just, we love hanging out with fellow RPG fans and RPG fans, both of you. Also, of course, if you can, please review us on iTunes, Google Play, wherever you get your podcast from. Just, give feedback so we can improve and so we can get the word out to other RPG fans about our fun little podcasts.
Because of you, I've got a better mic for listeners. You told me to get one.
Yes.
See, we do listen to feedback.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
It's rolling out slowly. I
and
need to
if-
get mine.
And then finally,
And if you want to talk to us individually, personally about stuff, you can chat with us on... Well, where can you chat with us on? I am Leon_Kazero on Twitter, on the boards, and on Discord. What about the rest of you guys?
I am _SaltedEarth on Twitter, and I'm also SaltedEarth on Discord, although my name on the RPG Fan Discord shows up as just Ava. And I'm not really on the forums.
okay, there we go. On Twitter, I am at Greg Delmage, I believe. Or am I at G Delmage? I forget. I think I'm at Greg Delmage. Basically, if you search Greg Delmage, you'll find me pretty much anywhere between IMDb and Twitter and Facebook and such. And on the Discord, I go by G Delmage. If you want to find me and chat at me there, I've finally gotten myself involved a little bit on the Discord and saying hi to folks.
Come to Discord.
That was worth it.
We have cookies.
But you need to click to accept that there's going to be cookies first. Our
That is
policies have changed.
That is true. However, we do still have cookies.
And Nate.
And I am at SmashKing27 on Twitter, and on Discord you can find me just SmashKing, and same on the boards.
Were there other Smash Kings
All
on
right.
Twitter that beat you to it?
Yeah, I'm guessing.
26 of them.
Plus 27 is also I have my blog that I haven't written in quite some time. That's the reason why it's 27. It's because that's the name of my blog.
All right. Well, it's been a fun time with you guys. I loved playing this game again, and I loved chatting with you guys about it. And we totally
Me
will
too.
do Mass Effect 2 and probably Mass Effect 3
All right.
as well down the line.
Yeah, so in 2 years and 5 years, look forward to it.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe by then we'll have an HD version of the trilogy.
Oh, yes. That
And
would
maybe it'll be on
Please.
Switch.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes! Oh my effing god, yes. Please bring it to Switch. Oh my god.
Yeah,
That's what
please. Do
Caitlin
you
had
want
a
money?
heart.
I thought you loved money. Give us the HD version.
Yeah! I'll give you all the monies for it on Switch. I will, I swear to God. Okay, and with that, I think we should sign off.
Indeed.
So, thanks for listening, and come back and listen to more Retro next week.
Should we renegade this and just hang up the call on everybody?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Click.
Click.